Hi folks, today I thought I'd talk a little bit about something you may or may not have heard of, and that is HRV, which stands for heart rate variability. So let's talk quickly first about stress. Obviously, your goal in running is you create some degree of stress in a lot of the workouts. Your body then recovers from that stress, hopefully makes you faster, stronger, longer, whatever, but it's a continual process of create stress and recover from that stress. You've probably also heard me say before that as far as your body is concerned, all stress counts. And stress, if you will, can come from places other than just running. And it's not even just exercise. For example, if you have a loved one in the hospital, that might be causing you some emotional stress. And that emotional stress does count. So what you're doing with heart rate variability is a way to try and assess all the stress in your life and what's going on with that stress, and whether or not you might need to make any adjustments in your life, not just necessarily with exercise, maybe with other things as well, to try and help manage that stress. So here's how heart rate variability works. Let's say your heart rate is 60, just to use some easy math. We would mostly assume, I always assume that means that my heart beats once every second, giving me 60 beats per minute. But the fact is, that's not what happens. It's not exactly every second. Some are going to be maybe 1.05 seconds, maybe another one is 0.57 seconds. There's actually a little bit of variation that goes on in your heart rate. It's not perfectly happening every second. So when you're looking at heart rate variability, so get ready because this is kind of counterintuitive. In general, high, having a lot of variability is considered good. There's times when that might not be good, but in general, a lot of variation is good, which you go, that doesn't make much sense to me, but I'll get to that. And in general, low means, whoa, danger, maybe, because the fact is you're going to be low. You want stress from running, so you're going to want some times that are low, but in general, low might mean danger. So why is high good and low bad? So what happens is when it's high, it basically means your body's saying, I'm not concerned about anything, and it's just kind of letting your heart do whatever kind of the heck it wants, and there just tends to be a lot of variation in there because things are just kind of motoring along. But the more concerned, if you will, your body is about what's going on, the more it wants to grab the steering wheel and really take control, and the variability becomes a lot less because it's really keeping a tight hold on things to try and make sure that everything's going to be okay. Maybe the closest analogy I can think about is, you've probably heard me say before that a lot of times towards the end of a race, your body gets concerned that you're going to be running out of fuel, so it'll start to slow you down. When in fact is you've got plenty of fuel left, it just got worried about it, so it kind of wants to take control and say, slow down, I don't want you to run out of fuel. Yet you can finish the race and you can still walk, so clearly you still have fuel. It's the same type of thing. When your variability is higher, when the body's very comfortable with things, there's more variation because your body doesn't care. When it cares, when it's concerned, it gets those white knuckles on the steering wheel, and your heart rate variability is going to become a little bit lower. So some things to know if you choose to monitor your heart rate variability is, so first of all, you should expect low days. What you want to do is look at the trend. Again, you should expect low days. You're supposed to be stressing yourself in running, and so if you've had a workout that was really hard one day, it's probably not going to be unusual for the next day for your variability to be a little lower because you're recovering from that run. Or maybe a better example would be if you just ran a marathon, you're in a PR marathon, you're probably going to be having several days of low. That's why we do very little and sometimes no running at all after the marathon, because of the amount of stress that has taken place in your body and you need to recover. So you don't want to just look at a given day and say, oh my gosh, it's low, I've got to do something about that, because you're going to have low days. You want to really look at what's my overall trend, and then is that trend kind of what I expected? Now, I said there's other things that can affect your variability. So exercise certainly does it. Emotional stress, that example I had about maybe a loved one being in the hospital, is going to matter. Sleep is going to matter. Nutrition is going to matter. There's other things too that cause some degree of stress in your body. And as I said, what you do is you look at your trend versus expectations. So if you kind of expect, my variability should be a little bit low right now, I've just done that marathon or I had a really hard workout, then that's fine. But if your trend is showing that you're low and you wouldn't expect it to be low, then it's trying to figure out, well, why is that happening? Am I overreaching on my workout? Are there other things going on in my life? That loved one in the hospital says, maybe I've got to dial it easier back someplace else, because you don't want to sustain being low all the time. It means you're not getting good recovery. It can lead to injury. You're not getting the results of your workout. You want to try and get all of that balanced. So again, key thing, It's the trend, not what you have any given day. Now, a question you might have is, so what's the difference between HRV and resting heart rate? And the fact is, resting heart rate's a pretty good indicator as well. I would recommend that you kind of keep an eye on both, because there's times when a lower resting heart rate isn't necessarily good, and there's times when a higher resting heart rate isn't necessarily bad. But the fact is, if you don't want to be messing around with HRV because you generally need some tools to be able to do that, I think resting heart rate is still a really good measure of what's going on. So for example, I know that if I've just had, say, a hard half marathon, my resting heart rate is going to tend to be a little bit higher the next couple of days. And again, looking at trends, I expect that because I know I'm recovering from that. That's why I'm not doing a hard half marathon and going out and getting a 5K the next day, because I need to recover from that. So if you're interested in heart rate variability, say, well, geez, how do I get this? How do I track it? Because you can't just put your hand on your chest and do this. You need a device to do that for you. Here are three. I'm sure there's more. So Elite HRV has a little device. I think it's about $165 or something. So it's not inexpensive, that you can put on your finger, and you would get up in the morning and you would measure your HRV that way. Garmin, many of the Garmin devices, not all the Garmin devices, will do HRV for you. You generally have to have a chest strap, and your device needs to support that. That's what I'm personally using. And you can measure your HRV that way. There's a device called the Aura Ring, which, well, this is my wedding ring, but it's a ring that you wear, and it does a lot more than HRV. It tracks sleep patterns and a whole lot of other things, but it's got sensors in there, and that's a more automatic method. It will do your HRV as well. And as I said, I'm sure there's other tools as well. So there's a little bit about HRV. I think it is a useful tool to kind of take a look at what's going on with your recovery, especially since it's considering all the stress in your life.